Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Elation Podcast today. We are here with the very talented Caly Pearse.
So happy to be here.
How are you doing?
Doing good. I have class after this, so am I.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know. No, but I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited.
That's good. You're a good student. That's one thing I know about you. You are a good student.
I try hard. I try hard to be.
You do. You really do. And you love. It seems like you love to learn.
I do. I have loved to learn ever since maybe high school. I loved going to high school too. Like I went to Mount Carmel, right around the corner.
Right, because you're born and raised here.
Yeah, born and raised in New Orleans.
Yep.
So I went to Mount Carmel and absolutely loved it. And then going to school at Tulane is same exact thing. Obsessed. I love it so much.
My wife went to Mount Carmel, so it's
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she loved it.
That's awesome. Do you know what she was? This is like a very niche question. Like
what?
a Pink Panther,
a
butterfly. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
But you know what? Now I feel like I need to ask you that
yeah,
question.
you need to then report back to me.
Yeah, I will.
Perfect.
But she loved it, and I went to grade school here, and then started high school at Curtis, but then I ended up moving to Florida at sophomore year. So
I didn't know you went to John Curtis.
Yeah, I played football at Curtis.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit longer there, but anyway, moved to Florida. But no, so high schools here are important because it kind of designates where you grew up and area and kind of groups you grew up in and stuff. So it's funny how locals here establish high school more than actual college.
They do. 100%. Every time I ask someone, where'd you go to school? It's definitely not college.
No, it's not college.
Definitely did you go to, Mount Carmel, Dominican, Brother Martin, all of the boy-girl schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's amazing.
So what made you choose Tulane?
So I never wanted to go to Tulane. Ever. I always wanted to go super far, somewhere hot, maybe by a beach, maybe. I wanted to go.
You just want to drive down I-10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we'll get there.
Yes.
So I always wanted to move far away. And then one day, senior year, I woke up and I was like, I love my family and I love my friends, and New Orleans is such a great place to be. So why not just, let's try Tulane. And my dad went to Tulane. My grandfather went to Tulane. So I've always kind of had Tulane blood.
I got you.
And so one day I toured Tulane, and I was like, I could definitely see myself loving it here. And then, my first day came, and I fell in love. I had a great freshman year as well. I love going there. It's very cool. Very
That's awesome.
cool.
Yeah, I
school.
had a lot of friends that went to Tulane, and they all enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's very fun. Very fun school.
That's awesome. Well, so your grandfather, I know, was a pretty big inspiration on you for music. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So my grandfather was always very musical. Growing up, he owned a bar. So Mo Chalet.
Okay.
Mo Chalet. His name was Mo. So yeah, we had Mo Chalet growing up all my life, and I would go there, and he would be playing guitar on stage with his little band. It was great. And so I always kind of looked up to him and was like, I loved the way that he loved music, how he was so passionate about it. And we would go to his house, and he would be playing guitar, and he would just always be singing, and it was just incredible just to see him do all of that. And so when he passed down all of his guitars to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. I have like a 6-string, 12-string and all of his stuff.
Music at that point.
Yeah, I have known I've loved music ever since I was super young. My sister also is really into music, and she was on American Idol, which I recently just found out. That's super awesome.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, I don't know why she kept that from me for so long either. I was like, I don't know why you haven't told me this.
It's been a few years since you've been in music. So
yeah, it's been a couple, and she's 33, and I was like, great, so you're just not telling me this. So yeah, my whole family is really super musical, except for my parents, funny enough. It just skipped a little generation. So I forgot even what we were talking about.
Well, your dad was worked in the hotel business, right?
Yes, my dad works in the hotel business, and my mom now runs the bar.
Oh, okay.
It was my grandfather's, yeah.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Super little cute family business.
Good family business.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what music-wise, what is like some of your favorite things that have happened, throughout your course of your music tenure?
Yeah, so definitely the first thing that happened that I was like, this is super surreal, was performing the national anthem on the Pelicans game. And then they asked me back to perform Drive Down I-10.
Right.
And that was so surreal. There were first of all, there's so many people there. And I was looking around, I was like, this is wild. Because it was a Pelicans-Lakers game, so everybody was there.
Right.
And it was super nerve-wracking at first, but, once you start singing, all the nerves just disappear. So that was such a surreal moment. And then I think performing at the House of Blues last month or 2 months ago was one of the most incredible experiences of my whole entire life.
It's a great venue.
It is. And especially growing up in New Orleans and going to see all of your favorite artists at the House of Blues, maybe even smaller artists that, you know, are just kind of coming into the scene. It's just incredible to have performed there in my first couple of years of doing music.
Well, and when you go backstage there, you see all the signatures.
And it's just so awesome because so many incredible names have performed there.
Absolutely.
And then you finally get to do that and you look around, it's like, I feel
I'm hoping you signed the wall.
I really want to sign the wall.
You didn't sign the wall?
Really, no, I didn't sign it, but man. I really want to.
Yeah.
One day they'll let me sign the wall. I'll get permission, maybe.
I'm sure you could get past someone to let you sign the wall. Yeah.
Probably. Maybe.
That's awesome. Well, I know you did a lot of collaborations and with some big producers. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how that worked?
So,
because you have a great manager, Lex, and I'm sure she helped out with some of that stuff. But tell us the whole story.
So, okay, one day we're in LA. We fly there on a whim. We don't know what we're gonna do. We just kind of wanted to broaden my horizons and, you know, go see what else is out there. I maybe was 18 at the time. And my friend Dino, who also works in the music with us, he was like, I have this friend who has these connections. Let's just call him. So we called the friend, and he was like, you know Scott Storch? And we were like, yeah. Yeah, we know Scott Storch. And he was like, we can go to his house right now. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. Let's pack up our things and go. So we went, and it was wild. And he just took a liking to me, and obviously I'm obsessed with him because he's so incredibly talented and raised me without me really even knowing. Once I looked into him, I was like, wait, like his whole discography is literally everything you listened to when you were younger and now. And so he decided he wanted to work with us. I maybe have 5 or 6 songs with him now, and it's just the most incredible feeling to tell someone, I've like worked with Scott Storch. And
that's not an independent artist story.
No, it's not at all.
You know?
And it was the most incredible collaboration just because when somebody else of that level respects you and thinks that you're as talented as you think that they are, that mutual respect is something that you don't really see often with a big producer and a small little like artist from New Orleans. So that definitely made my mindset shift from, okay, now this is real and I can definitely do this, you know? So, and I was 18, I was super young. And so I was like, I was so nervous. Oh my gosh. I remember that when we were recording the song, I just was so happy. I went in Scott Storch's bathroom. And I screamed, like literally at the top of my lungs. And he did not hear me, thank God. I walked all the way upstairs, so he didn't hear me. And I just screamed. I screamed and I was like, just because I was like so happy and so excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I had the pleasure of working with him. He had the similar experience in LA. He was like my first big producer that booked my studio out in LA at a spot in Burbank. And we worked together for 30 days. So he's a interesting guy.
Yeah, he's a character for sure. He is a little character.
Absolutely.
With his frames.
The frames and the cigarettes.
Frames and the cigs.
Yeah, frames and the cigs. But we had a good time. Actually, funny story, because in the studio I used to cook because I love to cook, and being out, I never found LA food to be good. No,
being from New Orleans,
it's not even in the 5-star restaurants. Like, it's not even seasoned. For me anyway. So I just decided to, and I had a full kitchen in the studio, so I just decided to cook for my clients and make that a different part of coming to my studio.
So when are we gonna cook?
I would cook whenever next camp.
So
next camp, I'll
perfect.
Cook.
I'm counting on that.
Next camp we'll do that. But I cooked some meat sauce and spaghetti, and
nice.
No one told me that Scott had acid reflux.
No.
And I definitely didn't hold back on some of the spice, and he ended up getting sick from eating my meat sauce. And so here I am, like all
Poor
excited, and Scott
guy,
Storch
poor
eating my food,
guy.
and then like an hour later, he's in the bathroom, like can't get out. So,
Oh, poor Scott.
yeah. So hopefully he doesn't remember me for that. But
I mean, hopefully not.
yeah. But
Hopefully
it's
not.
always good to be remembered either way.
Yeah, either way. Any publicity is good publicity. Any memory is good memory.
100%. I'm sure I could bring that up and be like, oh yeah, I remember.
I mean, that's
that.
a great story.
Yeah, but but at the same time, I was like, well, if you knew you had acid reflux, why did you eat my tomato sauce?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He ate it. It's not even your fault. He ate it.
He ate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's his fault.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I need someone to stand up for me.
I got you. Don't worry.
So
I'm on your side.
LA is good for that though, because I feel like LA, and I needed that to teach me what the industry was. When you leave a place like New Orleans and go to LA, you really truly learn how fast things move.
For sure.
And
for sure.
And the path that it takes. Because it's not a direct path. Sometimes
not at all.
Sometimes you from down here or from a smaller city, you look at things in a direct line of sight and don't realize how many steps it actually takes.
You're very right. You're very, very, very going to LA. It's all ups and downs and zigzags and everything. And everybody, even like in New Orleans, it feels very much like a family. And then going out to LA, it's kind of like everyone is out for themselves.
Yep.
And so that was a very big realization for me going out there for the first time for
It's
music.
hard to build friends in LA. Yeah, because
very much is.
Because everybody clicks together, and then and it's hard to get into a clique. But normally, once you're in that clique, you don't associate with anything else.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I feel like LA is full of a bunch of people who are trying to be something that they're not currently. And
for sure.
And so,
or putting on a facade or something.
But and it's not always a negative thing, but like, if a lot of the waitresses out there are trying to be musicians or actresses or actors or whatever it may be, and they're not exactly happy being a waitress. So they're not happy in their job, their daily life and their daily job. So it's hard to interact with people in that sense,
It shows.
It's hard to live in LA. So just that stress alone.
Even being out there for a week, like
angry.
My bank account was drained. So I don't know how I could live there right now. But yeah, being in LA was very cool. And in Miami, we went to Miami to work with everybody too. And Miami is awesome. Yeah. It's a really cool music scene out there right now.
It's a music party town.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. It's awesome. It's so awesome. Especially knowing the spots in Miami. It's really cool. Yeah. Really, really cool.
I always found it's the complete opposite. So in LA, everybody goes clubbing, and then when the club's shut down, they go to the studio. In Miami, they go to the studio, and then they hit the club after the studio at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Because Miami doesn't close till 6.
You're right.
You're
right.
So it's the total opposite.
Interesting. I never thought about that. Next time I go, I'm gonna have to.
You're gonna have to do it that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure.
Would you tell it, or I guess, tell up and coming musicians that it's important, or artists, it's important to go to LA or to go to New York and get into a networking scene? Do you think that's very important for an up and coming?
I don't think it's necessarily very important. I would say it's a good experience to go and just to see what else is out there. Like for me, I don't think it's important if I went and moved out there or something, because getting a start somewhere local like New Orleans has taught me a lot, and I feel like I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I've had here if I wouldn't have got them in LA or Miami, because it's so big and everyone's on the go, and there's so many talented people. Not saying there's not a lot of talented people in New Orleans, but everybody in LA and in Miami, and they're all wanting to do what I'm doing right now, and it's hard to put a focus on an independent artist when there's so many independent 100%. Artists out there.
No, so it's good. It's good advice. It's not always glamorous on the other side. The grass isn't always greener.
But I would say it's very important just to go and make connections out there, and you can always fly back.
Well, so that was what I always say. I always said use LA as a tool, and I ended up living out there for 9 years, which I don't recommend. But you go out there and get your network of people, and then learn how to use them, and then come home, and build at home, and that's always your best bet.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And even just utilizing like social media as a local tool, like on TikTok, for example, having local like videos, like going to the French Quarter and going even just like around the city. It's just so good to have that local audience and kind of like use social media as like, hey, I'm a local singer-songwriter in New Orleans, and you have that platform, and then you go to Texas or you go to Mississippi and do the same thing,
Right.
and then blow up like that, rather than just going to LA and trying to figure out how that works, because it's a
Right.
whole different scene.
New system.
You know?
Yep.
Whole different system for sure.
As a local artist, where is your favorite place in New Orleans to go see local artists perform?
I mean, I do love House of Blues. Like
Yeah.
we said, I love House of Blues. But local, so I just turned 21, right?
Right.
So I went to Frenchman, and I was like, wait, there's so many cool like people that are just playing all the time here. And especially going to Tulane, I'm in the music department at Tulane, and there are a lot of bands.
Right.
And I didn't realize that. And they always play like Carrollton Station or just on Frenchman Street or literally anywhere. But I think definitely I just went to Carrollton Station, actually. It was really cool to see just like one of the Tulane bands that were playing there.
Frenchman's amazing because it's
so dope.
Like a little bit of walking back in time. Like I feel like as soon as you
Super
make that
jazzy.
turn,
It's awesome.
3-piece jazz bands and standing rooms, and you know, it's just reminds you of like speakeasies and just like old
It's
school.
sick.
You know, jazz blues scenes. You know, so there's even drawing a blank. Impastos, or there's an Italian restaurant above one of the bars.
I think you're right.
It's only got like 10 tables up there. They don't take reservations. It's cash only. And
That's awesome.
And there's no menu. It's only the specials for the night, whatever they have. But it's like an old school Italian restaurant.
Nice.
And like stuff like that, like you just don't get that anywhere else.
You don't get it anywhere else.
You know?
Nowhere else. And that's why I chose to stay in New Orleans for college, just because there's literally nowhere else like New Orleans ever, at all. And I've gone everywhere in the United States, and there's just no place like it.
Yeah.
No place like it.
No, 100%. It's a creative hub for musicians, and the energy down here is just for us.
And especially coming here, you know, like this is such a great place for musicians to do everything. I mean, video, music, like everything. This is such a dope spot. I'm really happy that you put it here.
Well, thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate that. What advice would you give musicians? Because, you know, Tulane gives you a big attachment to an audience that you could grab from. Because, you know, you have a lot of students around you, a lot of people who are open and willing to listen. What advice would you give an artist that wants to utilize their college campus for building fan base?
I would definitely say make as many connections as possible, because I recently played House of Blues, and one of my best friends that I met at Tulane, I sat right next to her in harmony class on the first day, and I was like, hey, you look sick. Like, her outfit was awesome. And I was like, what's your name? She was like, Kaya. And I'm like, hey, I'm Caly. I'm a singer. What do you do? She's like, I play guitar. And I was like, great. Do you want to perform with me? And she performed a House of Blues with me. And it was
awesome.
so awesome. And I will have that connection for the rest of my life now. And I think just doing that, going and putting yourself out there, everyone's going through the same thing when you go to college. Everyone's super nervous, super scared, especially, you know, when it's your first day or your first year. Everyone is feeling the same way. And so just being bold and saying, hey, I'm Caly, like, what's going on?
Right.
I think that is advice that I did not get, because I thought that I was the only one that was scared. So I think that definitely is advice that I would say. Just put yourself out there, and you know, every college has like little festivals or things going on
To be a part of.
You know, you can be a part of. And
was Tulane helpful in your career? Do you think that they, as a school, did they kind of get behind you at all, or?
I think a little bit. There's a club, it's called TUCP at Tulane, and they put on musical events, and they have like comedy shows and stuff, and they always are like, hey, we need musicians to come and do this. So I sign up all the time. They're like, yeah, sick, come on. So I did this show at Tulane. It was actually really cool. It was called TUCP Palooza, so kind of like Lollapalooza.
Gotcha.
So there was just a bunch of Tulane artists that performed, and it was really cool. So I think in that sense, yes, Tulane is just accepting of every musician that's there. They always want to spotlight, Tulane artists. But the music program itself, I think, needs a little bit of updating. But I mean, so does every music program.
Every
honestly,
music program across the world
needs a little bit of updating. But I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, I know. It's a part of the overall lapse in thought of music. Like I feel like as a whole, teaching music has been not utilized, because music can teach you
a lot of things.
It makes you better at math. It makes you better at reading, because you're reading notes, and you're writing words and lyrics. Like there's so many things that you can attach it to teach. I just think we're underutilizing it, and we've forgotten about it. I
completely agree. I read this thing like maybe so long ago, a couple of years ago, and it said it was a story about this woman who wanted to go to med school, but she majored in music. And she explained, going into her interview, she was like, well, I'm a music major, but it made me super particular about everything. And I, have all of these great, just like things that I know just because I studied music. And she got in. And I was like, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Like, it's literally awesome. I think music is such a big part of everyone's life, and everyone needs to know more about it. Everyone needs to be taught what it's like to be maybe in the music industry or just anything. Like, it's so...
It's the only thing that doesn't need translation.
It's a universal language.
Yeah.
It really is the universal language. Everybody listens to music all the time, whether you're in the car or you're at the grocery store. Everyone's listening to music all the time. It's such a beautiful thing.
Which is why we should respect it, and it should be taken seriously. But I think the younger the better.
I agree.
So
I completely agree.
You've seen the video of my two playing piano already.
I'm literally obsessed with your kids.
3 and 9.
I'm obsessed with
3
them.
and 9 months.
They're your twins.
I know.
They're your twins.
I know.
And they're gonna be musical prodigies.
I just hope they sing better than me.
I mean, hopefully they probably will.
Yeah,
they probably will. I'll teach them.
Yeah, you go. That works for me.
Perfect.
Well, that's great. Well, it was great talking to you today. I appreciate your time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where your socials are and where we can find you?
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm mixing up the two questions now. I did it last time. I'll do it this time. It doesn't matter, I guess.
Okay. So everything that I have, every social media is just Caly Pearse, CalyPearse. So like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, even though I don't use Twitter at all. But yeah, everything's Caly Pearse, and then my website's calypearse.com. So it's just all Caly Pearse.
And your singles that are out are...
Yeah, we have the most recent is Bad Things. That one's super guitar heavy. I love it so much. We have Drive Down I-10, Memories of Me, Bad Bitch Don't Get Sad with Scott Storch. The remix just came out. It's super good. Yeah. And then, we have the early days, Summer Sky. Wow. So I was in class the other day, and someone was like, oh, like, what music do you have out? And I was like, yeah, I have, like, all these singles, whatever, but, Summer Sky, it's just, like, in itself is such an enigma to me. Like, yeah, Summer Sky, that happened. Like, and the music video is even better. I'm like, did that really happen? Yeah, it really happened. And then When You Won't Forget, a classic. All of them have their own little story that I'm obsessed with. Yeah. When You Won't Forget was on the radio for so many weeks. I was like, did that happen? That happen? It was wild. It was crazy. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, great. Well, I'd like to ask everybody here on Elation, what brings elation to you in your life?
I think what brings me elation, I mean, we're talking about music the entire time, so, like, definitely music. Like we said, it's a universal language, and I love that. I can put a song in the car with my friends, and we'll all become so happy and just sing at the top of our lungs, windows down, you know what I mean? That kind of vibe. So I love how music can just change your mood and change your mindset, change your perspective, and everything like that. Family and friends, school, honestly. But yeah, I think those things definitely bring me elation in my life.
Awesome. Well, those are good things that bring good energy in your life. So it makes sense.
So many things.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you. And thank you guys for joining us today on Elation Podcast, where we find exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration.